When are short-term sacrifices justified? Look, I got two short-term programs going on that are causing pain, causing difficulty. The first is 75 hard. So I trained for the first time with my regular trainer who's been away for 2 weeks down in Melbourne visiting her family. So she comes back and I let her know about 75 hard and she's like, dude, be careful with that program. We know from the science you should not be training every day. And you should definitely not be training twice a day. And yet here this program is 75 hard, train twice a day. Now, at 44, I am not going to push hard on that second training session. And in fact, we did heavy weights this morning on my legs. Most likely it's going to be fairly painful in the morning. I've dosed up on magnesium. And so tomorrow's workouts will be lighter. There's no doubt about that. And we actually discussed even doing training for the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, you may not have heard about this. Our whole society tends to focus on exercise as purely a sympathetic experience, a drive, a fighting, a lifting weights, doing active activities to train the body. But there is also a secondary nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. Strangely not promoted, or perhaps not strangely at all. Our society is heavily success-based, growth-based, and so the time for downtime and rest is relatively limited. But there are actually forms of exercise that can be used to exercise this parasympathetic nervous system. Traditionally, they are known from Chinese medicine as yin forms, particularly of Tai Chi and Qigong. So these actually put the body into a state of rest and digest, and then you can do meditations. It's kind of like a combination of exercise and meditation. And so the suggestion was from her, it's like, hey, you're going to do 45 minutes of that, that's okay. But be careful, because if I injure myself, then the entire ability to complete the program goes out the window. The second experience that I got going on is putting my kids under some strain. Right now, I've got them on devices. They're just watching TV or they're watching Netflix. They're watching TikTok in the case of my son. And I'm obviously here making this with you, but when this finishes, I still got to go back and edit 4 pages. Now, last night, I pushed pretty hard in terms of going through till literally midnight. Like, I haven't gone to bed at midnight for some time. It's hard at 44. It's hard at any age, unless you're like under 30. Perhaps under 30 is pretty good, but 44 is like, whoo, okay. So I got up with my alarm at 5:25, just felt like my eyes had been punched in the face. It was terrible. I'm like, oh my goodness. Took me a good half hour, and then I still did a double meditation today just to catch up. Did 24 minutes of meditation instead of my usual 12. So that was really helpful. Strangely, I didn't even pass out. Like, I have a particular meditation that is extremely effective at getting me to pass out, but it didn't work. I was like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. That means my body is kind of cooked. So I am taking the warning on board that looking after myself during intense experiences is critical. There is no point in pushing for short-term goals if it's going to cost me long-term. So why would it be a good idea to push for short-term goals? Well, the reason that I'm pushing on the pages is that once that is up and running, it becomes an asset. An asset that continues to produce results for me without huge amounts of extra effort. So yes, there's a whole lot of effort right now to get this up and running, but once it's done, the effort to maintain it is relatively small. Yes, there might be fatigue on ads, there might be fatigue on the offer, but essentially these tweaks are not having to rebuild the entire asset. And there are literally things that are sitting on the internet that are still performing 2, 3, 5, 10, 12 years later. where they were done once. This is an example of all books. All books are like this. Yes, it took a huge amount of effort to get that book written, or it took a fair amount of cash. I actually was reading a book, and it's called Never Lose a Customer. Awesome book, highly recommend it. In that, they were like, if you would like to get your book produced, we will do it for you. It was a service called Book in a Box, now rebranded to like Scribe Writing or something like that. And for an investment of $48,000, you will get a book. Like this book, Never Lose a Customer, is great. Well written, well structured, attractive cover, great info. I'm like, man, that's looking pretty cool. 50 grand down and you get a book. Yes, that investment goes in $50,000 down, but then it continues to return for a lifetime. There's a particularly interesting concept about the long tail that was found when a movie came out about mountaineering. I think it was called Into the Void. It was Into the Void. I've seen this movie. I spent the entire movie wondering how the guy survived. I could see him there. He clearly survived. I'm like, dude, you ain't coming back from this. And yet he did. But what was very interesting from a marketing perspective was that that book caused a spike in sales of a book that was written about Everest 5 or 6 or 8 years before. And they're like, what's going on here? But the interest in Into the Void caused a spike in an older book, and the sales continued to roll in for that book. Did the author rewrite it? No. It was just available on Amazon, and it just gets printed on demand. It's unbelievable. We live in the most incredible time. These systems and the capacities that we have right now would astound people from the past. If you brought a early 20th century human, a early 19th century human, if you took an 18th century, like anywhere in the 19th century, anywhere in the 18th century, anywhere in the 17th century, they would see all of us as gods, as godlike behaviors. The abilities that we have are unbelievable. Unbelievable. Typically couched in this very device that you are watching this video on. I'm recording on it. It is unbelievable. We have access to the most incredible amounts of information, of knowledge, of skills, many of it just available on YouTube, just to search away. And yet, peculiarly, many people have dropped away from their capacity to produce. They have become consumers, which is the downside of all of this. You are a consumer right now. You're watching the video. You're listening to the podcast. But you also have a producer inside you. And when we get that producer active and functional, then this benefits you and this benefits me. And that is what we want. More production of things that bring value in the world. It's not just producing more widgets or more plastic or more useless stuff. We have enough stuff. But what we lack is value and wisdom. So, the reason I'm pushing hard at the moment is to create an asset for my business. The reason that I'm working hard on my body is to shift the set point through 75 hard down from, I think I'm at 90 or I'm at 100 kilos at the moment, 99, something like that. I was 103 when I started 75 hard. If I can get down to 90 and then maintain that level, then I'm excited for that program. And it will have been worth the short-term investment. So choose wisely. Know that there are risks in short-term investments and know what you are going for is a long-term benefit, and then it will be justified. Weigh up your benefits, weigh up your risks, and if it is the right decision, then commit and go. All right, that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to get back and get these pages done. Excited to build out this basically a complete product in a week. That's what I'm going for. It's pretty nuts. I do have many systems that are up and running that it's just deployment of the systems, so it's not having to create them, but there's still a reasonable amount of work. I'm excited to see where this goes. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems to create results. See you then.